The aim of this video is to promote safety when working at height. We will show you the correct way to use equipment for accessing high areas, how to stay safely attached when climbing or working at height, and how to protect others that may be working beneath you. A 2015 safety bulletin, published by the Australian Maritime Safety Authority, indicated 122 falls were reported between 2008 and 2013, 8 of which were serious enough to require safety investigation by the authority. While this data refers to incidents under Australian jurisdiction, it may be taken as an indication of a continuing trend within the maritime industry worldwide. What causes falls in the workplace? Is it equipment failure or some other reason?
Unfortunately, it is very rarely equipment failure. The major cause is complacency, which is a human trait. Complacency causes us to feel secure. We tend to stop thinking about the job in hand, and this causes us to forget procedures, cut corners, and make mistakes. Now, another cause of falls is people intentionally not following procedure. This is different to becoming complacent, instead reflecting a person's attitude to risk. To stay safe at height, always follow procedures and guard against complacency by at all times thinking safety. So how are we doing here? Are we okay?
Until fairly recently, the official definition of working at height was being able to fall a distance of 2 meters or more from a workplace. In practice, however, injury happens with a fall of a much lesser distance than this. And so the interpretation has been changed. Now, if a worker is able to fall from one level to another and be injured in doing so, they are said to have been working at height. The definition does not include tripping and falling on the same level or walking up or down a fixed stairway. Before starting any work at height, there should be a full risk assessment undertaken and a permit to work issued. Account for task-specific risks with a work plan. An important aspect of this is the provision for rescue should anyone become injured or trapped when working at height. After the permit is issued, let us see how a person should dress to work safely at height.
So Gal, if you're going to be working at height, always wear strong safety boots. Now, lift your foot up with a non-slip sole. And if you're wearing laces, those laces need to be tied up securely. And the bows of the laces, they need to be tucked inside, that's right, so they don't get caught up on any obstruction, okay? Okay.
Wear a coverall that is well fitting, so that it will not snag or get caught by the wind. A hard hat is required to protect the head. Secure the chin strap to stop the hat falling off. If your company requires you to wear gloves, put them on. When working at height, wear a full body harness, which should be the correct size and fit closely to your body. The harness should be supplied by an approved manufacturer, have an identity mark, and be tested regularly. Several companies have banned the use of waist-type safety belts altogether. This is because the belt imposes a localized force on the person's body in a fall, potentially damaging internal organs.
Okay, so if you'd like to turn around, Alex. Now this harness has a D-ring on the back, and it's to attach a safety lanyard. You can also sometimes find them on the front as well, the D-ring, okay? Now before attaching any lanyards to the harness, what you need to do is you need to check for any damage, okay? And then also you want to check that the clips are working properly, okay? So you like to turn around and then clip it onto the D-ring that's there. That's it.
Some lanyards have a tear web energy absorber built into them. which is a way of reducing the shock load on a falling person. If this type of lanyard has saved a person in a fall incident, condemn it, as the shock-absorbing part of the lanyard will be damaged. Thoroughly inspect any safety equipment that has saved a falling person. If there are any doubts about its integrity, do not use it. It is possible to return some equipment to the manufacturer's service department for retesting. When personnel are working at height, we need to protect them in one of two ways. Either with a fall arrest system, which stops them from falling further, or with a fall restraint system, which stops them from being able to fall in the first place. A fall restraint is useful on a platform or other flat working surface. Both systems have their place on a vessel, but their safe and proper use must be clearly understood. All safety lines, lanyards and strops should be carefully positioned away from sources of potential damage from sharp edges, corroded areas, heat sources, and moving machinery. There are various types of fall arrest system. The system you see here has two lanyards attached to the D-ring of the body harness and clips to attach the lanyards to a strong point. Ideally, the lanyard should have an anti-shock system that absorbs some of the energy, as we can see here on the harness worn by this crew member. The simplest application of the fall arrest system is to attach the two clips to the ladder rungs as you climb. With two lanyards in place, it means the crew member is never detached from the ladder at any time. As the crew member climbs, one hand grips the side rail as the other moves the clip upwards. Both feet should be static on the lower rungs while this is being done. Only when a clip is on its next rung should the climber move up a step. In this way, there are always 3 points of contact with the ladder, observing an important principle for working at height, one that should always be followed when moving to or from an elevated work location. Note also that nothing is being carried by the crew member, and the ladder is clear of obstructions. An alternative arrangement is the guided fall arrest system, where there is a safety wire permanently rigged, running the full length of and close alongside a ladder. The lanyard attaches to the wire with a special device, sometimes called a traveller or rope grip. This slides along the wire under normal conditions, but will lock and grip the wire under sudden downward movement and weight load, such as would be produced in a fall. Another type of fall arrest system is an inertial reel. Here the device is attached to a strong point, preferably directly above the work area. The line is attached to the harness and pays out or draws in automatically as the crew member moves up or down. In the event of a sudden load on the line, such as might happen if the crew member were to fall, the device grips the line, stopping any further descent. As such, it is similar in design to a car safety belt. The advantage of an inertial reel system is the relative freedom provided to the wearer, as the safety line does not need tending and is always the right tension. Before using an inertial reel system, always test the locking mechanism by giving it a sharp pull. An important consideration with any fall arrest system is that there should be sufficient height above the deck or an obstruction for the device to hold a falling crew member before they land on it.
So far we have talked a lot about attaching lanyards, but to what should they be attached?
Ideally, the device should be attached to a specially installed point that should be tested, marked accordingly, and able to withstand a large force. Small rails and similar fittings are not tough enough to act as strong points for fall arrest systems. If no strong point exists above the workplace, create one using strops slung over a beam or through an eye. There is another aspect of working at height that presents a significant risk to the safety of personnel. Those working underneath or crossing the area below must also be safeguarded. Tools and other equipment can fall and should be secured to prevent this. A line should be used to haul tools up to the work area, contained within a bag or workbox if appropriate. Monitor the tools you take up and ensure they all come down again once the job is completed. Areas crossed by personnel should be cordoned off and warning notices posted.
On a vessel, there are many other ways to access an out-of-reach area, often using portable equipment, such as scaffolding, a ladder, a set of steps, or a trestle.
The use of portable ladders should, wherever possible, be avoided. However, when such equipment is used, always make sure that it is adequately secured against movement. Do not rely on someone just holding the ladder from the bottom. The Code of Safe Working Practices states that the angle of the ladder to the horizontal should be between 60 to 75 degrees. Work undertaken from a ladder should always be of a short duration, typically never greater than 30 minutes. Never lean out from a portable ladder. If necessary, reposition it to get better access. Even on a short portable ladder, always use some form of fall protection. When opened correctly, a set of steps is relatively stable to use. However, on a vessel with sloping decks and possible movement at sea, they should be appropriately secured against movement. An inertial safety device should be fitted above the workplace. Avoid using a temporary arrangement, such as the one seen here. Scaffolding is a good way to enable work to take place that cannot be done from a ladder. Only use properly trained personnel to assemble portable scaffolding and always follow the manufacturer's instructions. Once erected, lash the scaffold tower in place and secure an access ladder. Accident statistics tell us that people frequently use chairs to access things just out of reach. We can probably all describe such an example. Chairs are meant to be sat on, not stood on, and should not be used for such purposes, even for simple things like changing a light bulb. Certain traditional methods of getting to high and inaccessible areas of a vessel are less common at sea today, as both equipment and procedures have developed in recent years. In many situations, the bosun's chair and the wooden stage have been replaced by scaffolding, cradles, and mechanical access equipment. So far, we have seen a lot of the deck, but remember that there are many other places on a vessel where working at height is required. One example is the engine room, where high-up equipment or fittings may require access. Other examples include tanks or holds, on top of a funnel, or in the boiler room. Remember, performing a task in any area where a fall could cause you an injury is classed as working at height. Before starting work in a high place, the management on the vessel should have assessed all risk to crew members involved. Although clearly undesirable, this would include the risk to a crew member who falls and ends up suspended, possibly unconscious, and with broken bones or other injuries. If left like this for too long, such a casualty can suffer what is called harness hang syndrome, which becomes more critical the longer a person is suspended. If the casualty is not rescued promptly, they may start to suffer breathing problems and deprive the brain of oxygen, a potentially fatal condition. Remember too, even if a casualty is conscious after a fall, they may have broken bones and be unable to help themselves. If there is no effective plan in place for the rescue of a suspended crew member, a work permit should not be issued for the job. How can a stranded crew member be helped? A vessel should have a rescue plan for the specific work location, which will include the equipment required and the method of rescue. As each work location tends to be unique and present its own challenges, the plan should detail exactly how a stranded crew member would be brought to safety. It could be that a person would be lowered to the deck, or they could be raised to a safe place above. When working over the side, the plan may dictate the use of a safety boat standing by.
We have seen that it is important to treat any height as a risk. Always think of your own and other people's safety when working at height, and everyone will be safe.
Remember that working at height means working in a place where an unprotected fall would cause you an injury, however far off the deck that may be. Always dress properly for working at height. This includes having proper footwear, a hard hat, and a full body harness. We have looked at both fall arrest and fall restraint systems. Know what equipment you have on board your ship, know when to use which type, and how to use it safely. For the safety system to be effective, attach it to a rated and tested strong point. If there is no strong point available, create one using a strop around a beam or pipeline. Make sure that any tools used at height are under effective control at all times. If necessary, cordon off the area below to restrict access. Always inspect equipment before and after use. Discard defective items. A permit to work should not be issued if there is no rescue plan for a stranded crew member. If you follow procedures and do not become complacent, you will not end up as an unnecessary casualty when working at height.